Excellent. Right. Okay, let me get back to this. Right. Anyone who turns up now, they can jump in later. So I'm just gonna bring this down a little bit so I can see everybody. Right. Evening, guys. Welcome then. Um, obviously, I know both of you. I've worked with both of you previously. And for those who are watching back on the recording, good evening. Post Easter is always a bit of a mad one. I feel like I spoke to so many people this week that have just come back from loving the 2 weeks off, spent too much time with extended family, loved most of it, got felt overstretched at times as well, and I think I'm part of that as well. And then feel like it went too quick, and before you know it, you're back at school and you're here, there, and everywhere. And Alex, already know I can't even imagine what your school run's like if it's still all like 1,000 different schools. Are any of
Three
them at the same
kids,
school yet?
three kids in three separate schools.
Just because, why not? Like it's how you do. And Sam, I know you're busy as well, dropping your kids off here, there, and everywhere. So I've redone this sort of fatherhood leadership audit, and it's a bit of a play on some of the coaching I've done in the past. It's a little bit more specific to dads. It's a little bit more specific to people who either work for themselves, um, work for other people, but just have a little bit more autonomy over what they do. And it's that understanding that we're doing our best as dads, as husbands, as fathers. We're trying to do our best, but we get caught in this very slow, very gradual drift. And it's all of a sudden you look up and realize that you're nowhere near where you want to be. You're not intentionally in the wrong place, but you've just not been paying attention to the good stuff. So tonight's a bit of an audit of all of that, and really want to get the feedback from you guys. So Alex and Sam, it'd be great to hear some stuff back from you, to kind of see where we are now versus where we'd like to be. And it's a bit of a reality check as well. And for those who are watching back at this at home, we never wake up in the morning and intentionally set out to jeopardize our relationship with our partners, sabotage our relationship at work, sabotage the relationship with our kids, and sabotage our health and our fitness. Yet we get pulled in directions here, there, and everywhere, and sometimes that's what can end up happening. But we don't do it on purpose. But if we don't take control, if we don't work out where we're supposed to be, then it can easily happen. And yeah, tonight's just a bit of a check-in to see where we're actually at. Sam, I think you're messaging in now, so I can imagine most of your stuff's going to come in via the chat. Right, okay. So, and this is something that I've been hearing quite a lot recently is you're not failing, you're drifting. And I can only relate to this. You suddenly look up after 3, 4, 5 years and you're like, oh shit, I'm not where I wanted to be. I've not intentionally doing this, but my wife is pissed at me, my kids are annoyed at me, and I don't have the relationships that I want to be having. My business maybe is not where I want to, or even worse, I might be doing well in business, but the rest of the stuff is playing catch up. So yeah, you're not failing, but you're drifting, and it's something that happens. So what I want to look at today is identify where the wins might be, okay, and where the gap is. And for me, especially, it showed up at home big time. So business might be moving in the right direction. I'm paying my bills, I'm providing, I'm handling the pressure at work, I'm getting the jobs done, and I'm showing up. Yet, where it's really important to me is the stuff at home and the other areas of my life. And that's where I ended up noticing that I had shorter patience at home, lower energy in the evenings, less presence with my kids, and then my wife just felt that distance. And like I said, I didn't intend for any of this to happen, but it just catches up with you. And that gap between the win and sort of the reality is what we're trying to reduce. We're trying to reduce that. And I wonder if for some of you then this is something that you've experienced, currently going through now. Sam and Alex will come to you in a second, and I'm sure the people watching back on this just take a little moment to have a think. Does this resonate? Am I doing well at work? Am I doing the provision part of it, handling the pressure? Yet I find myself at home or with myself, less patience, low energy. The kids just notice that I'm not as present. We had a moment earlier where the kids came through and Sarah and I had been both intentionally doing something, but we were both on our phones. And Aria came through. She just said something, and she was making some comment like, "Yeah, don't worry, I'm just going to be in here." And she knew that we knew that she was going into the living room just to put on the computer game or something to play with her brother. She's been off school sick today, so actually she's getting a little bit of leeway. But Sarah just looked up and went, "That was terrible parenting there. Like we were both on our phones. We both didn't acknowledge Aria." And I was like, I get what you're saying on this instance. I did hear what she was saying, but she was looking to get a rise out of us. I'm just going into the living room. Don't worry where we are, because I knew full well she was going to be playing on her game. But I can imagine there'll be times where this shows up and I've not known it's been happening. So I just wanted to check in with you guys. So Alex, Sam, take some time. Any of that true for you right now at home? No judgment, just a bit of honesty. Just share here what showed up at home. Is it the lack of patience? Is it the partner? Is it the energy? What sort of like resonates for you guys as you're thinking about it now?
I think for me, Ross, it's I'm often out seemingly more than I'm in at times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could be doing lots of different things, and before I know it, it could be quite a number of days between really catching up with people.
Yeah. And I think that's the reality of it. I think we can all definitely feel like we've had moments like that. And before you know it, a day, a week, a month, and you're like, shit, it's Easter, it's the summer. And these things have slowly started to drift apart. And again, we don't intentionally do it. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, definitely. The shorter patience is funny. My wife and I were actually having this discussion only a few days ago. Definitely the shorter patience at home. For those watching, Ross knows me. He knows that I have had and always have a lot of plates spinning, especially with three kids and two of which are teenagers and want to go out with their mates. And so it's a lot of logistical stresses and struggles. And so my wife and I will often laugh sometimes and often not laugh so much other times when we refer to ourselves sometimes as just ships in the night. We will just be so focused on what we're doing in our own adult lives and what the kids have got going on. We will just pass each other and never, we really have to make an effort to stop and have that catch up time with each other as well.
Yeah, I think that's quite often the case with most of the dads I'm working with now, and from my own experience, that is definitely something that on reflection you're like, oh man, I can't believe it happens. But when you're in the thick of it, you don't even know it's happening. And again, we're not intentionally setting out to piss off our partners or ruin any relationships with our kids. We're just so busy doing stuff. And this is where prioritizing, taking ownership, responsibility of different parts of our days and our weeks is really, really important. Guys, I really appreciate that. And then for the people that are listening back, just take a minute and make a little note down about the stuff that rings true for you. So whether it's the stuff at home or what that shows up for, yeah, take a little moment to have a look at that. Okay, yeah. So look, this is the thing about the drift. It catches you out, and it doesn't do it intentionally. It doesn't happen as one big like bang event. It's subtle, it's gradual, and yeah, it gets to the point where it becomes you almost like justify how we've got there. You know, it's definitely subtle. These things they don't announce themselves. Um, it'll just be a slow build. It'll be the slightly longer drive home, the quicker to lose our shit with our kids, and them. Well, as they get older, and Alex, I'm sure you can attest to this, is as they get older, they have less, I guess, patience with us. So they're like, yeah, I'm just going to take myself away to my room now. I can do that. I was chatting to my son today. He was talking about how a teacher had spoken to him at school. And I was like, he gave my son like a second and third chance. And I was like, as you get older, they don't give you those second and third chances, much like our kids won't. They'll check in with mum and dad. And if you're not giving them that response that they want straight away, there is plenty of stuff they can go and distract themselves with. So yeah, you won't notice it in any given moment. It'll just gradually build up, and it'll build up over weeks and months. And then all of a sudden, you've missed the fact that it's happened. It's just a new norm. So all of a sudden, it's the new norm to come straight home and jump straight into an evening activity without checking in on your kids, without checking in on your wife, without doing exercise, without to seeing if your kids have done how their days have been, what's challenged them, what they're proud of, what they've got going on. Same thing for our partners. We've maybe not even prioritized some exercise for ourselves. We've just come in and gone straight to the next thing. Yeah, as adults and as parents, we're all parents in here. We know that that's really hard for our kids to do. We spend most of our times moving them from one thing and then rushing them from one thing to the next thing. And it's usually a sport activity, it's usually an evening. And then that results in parents getting in at, I don't know, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then trying to have dinner, and then trying to decompress, and then maybe trying to catch up, and then trying to get up and go again as we go to bed to try and do the whole thing the next day. And that we always then come up with a really justifiable excuse for our bad thing. Everyone's got a great excuse for a bad habit. I can always come up with a good reason about why I didn't do X, Y, and Z. I don't like the outcome. I don't like the broken down relationship. I don't like the low energy. I don't like the lack of fitness. I don't like the lack of direction and responsibility. But I can come up with some good excuses about how I got there. Um, and then we notice it when our partners just maybe they pull away, maybe they say something, the comments are pulled in, the kids stop asking about what's going on. And then we get that feeling inside, they're like, oh shit, I've missed it. And we all have the good intentions. Yes, but this time I'll do something different. This time I'll do something different. We're busy. Months, days, weeks, months, years, kids. Blink your eyes, Alex, and your kids are now teenagers. I struggled to believe that I had a 12-year-old who was in high school. Now he's almost at the end of his first year of high school. And I'm now worried that Ari's only got one more year before she's in high school. It is literally like that. And we just get caught out. And again, we don't do it intentionally. That is just how it plays out. What about you guys? How does that show up? Kids, exercise, partners, work, maybe? How does that kind of drift show up for you?
I think for me, Ross, it's probably that finding out that the kids had done something that I don't really know an awful lot about.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, like a missed event or something.
yeah, or it could be equally something with like I've maybe had a plan or an idea that I've kind of gone through the starting out phase, explored it a bit, kicked it around, kind of shaped it up into pretty good prospect, and I've not even mentioned it at all to my wife. And I've realised that I've probably been dealing with it for maybe a week, 10 days,
Yeah,
and it's almost gone to the point of I'm in decision making mode, and I've not even kind of voiced it to her at all.
yeah. Well, you almost turn it into just another thing to do, like a work task. Yeah, do this, and then you realise you've not checked in with the people that it might have an impact on.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah,
Yeah. What about you, Alex?
Two aspects for me. One will be myself and not getting to the gym. I mean, you probably see I'm in gym gear now, so I made
Yeah,
a conscious effort to get to the gym today. And I've got an app that tracks my gym visits and what I'm doing exercise wise. And this is the first time we're now 16 days into April. This is the first time this month I've actually got to the gym. And it's just it's that realization. And I think it's one of these where the gym is what I do to kind of decompress and de-stress. So it starts to show, the less time I spend in the gym in a month, I start to get grumpier, I start to get snappier at home, I start to lose my patience with the kids, etc. That's aspect one. And then aspects two is dropping the ball.
yeah,
It's something will come up on the calendar that the wife and I haven't remembered, or worse still, we haven't put it on the calendar at all. And then
yeah,
suddenly it's rather than being proactive, we're being reactive because we're having to suddenly scramble around this one event that we haven't remembered. Or if, in the case of the children, if something comes up a bit last minute or a bit unexpected, a case in point, my daughter's got an assembly to do tomorrow, Obviously, my wife's at work because she has to be at work early because she's a school teacher. And I've planned out my day. The school have sent us this thing, in fairness to us, very last minute. And normally I would be there, but because I didn't know about it until like 11:30 this morning, I've got my day planned out tomorrow, and
Yeah.
some of it's very non-negotiable, and so I'm going to miss it. And that then makes me feel dreadful that I'm not there for
Yeah,
my,
it is.
because it's
Those
important,
things, yeah,
to
those
them.
things catch you out. And it's interesting on those 2 points because the first one you mentioned about the gym, I bet if I was to try and put you on the spot, you'd be like, struggle to pin down why you didn't get to the gym in the last 16 days. Like I couldn't, yeah, I'm the same. I really notice it in my journal. So at the top of every little journal entry, I'll put the date so I can see when the last entry was when I write in. And mine will come up with something like, I'll usually start the line with, wow, it's been 10 days, or it's been 7 days, or it's been 3 days. And then depending on how long it's been, I'll then put something like, it definitely has shown up in my life and I've noticed that it's been 10 days or wherever it's been. And I'm pretty sure, and I'm sure, Alex, for you, your wife and kids will have known before you've known that it's only been one trip in 16 days. They're so good at it, and our wives are brilliant. They're like particularly good at get knowing us and knowing when something's not right. So yeah, so if we're noticing it, we're probably last to the party. We're probably the last people in our close knit of sort of circle. We're probably the last ones to notice. Yeah, shit, it's been 2 weeks and it's been 10 days for journal or whatever it's been. And again, we don't intentionally set out to do it. We just get caught out. And whenever we're not checking in, whether we're checking in on a daily or we're checking in on a weekly or a monthly, and I've talked about this before, Alex and Sam, you'll have a bit of an understanding of this as well. It's like when we're using our maps and we're doing a little bit of a nav, am I going in the right direction? Well, if I check in every 100 steps, every half a kilometer, I don't have to make too big adjustment if I'm off course. But if I only check in every 6 months, year, or even less, a month, couple of months, and I've been going in the wrong direction, doing the wrong stuff, trying to course correct is really hard. So it doesn't have to be big check-ins. It can just be genuine check-ins. So I check in with Sarah. How's your day? We try to do it on a Sunday. A Sunday we'll plan the week ahead and we'll sit down. My wife loves to do things on a calendar. So she'll have the calendar, a bit of an old school written down in boxes, get the calendar on the table. We didn't do it on Sunday. And then Sarah's just a bit like you were saying, Alex, about dropping the ball and missing something. So sat down at dinner tonight, and Sarah's like, right, tomorrow night they're doing this after swimming, and Sarah just looks at me and goes, obviously because I'm not here, and I'm like, where are you? And she's like, I'm on my work's away day tomorrow, and I'm like, fuck. I'm like, yeah, I didn't know, and she's like, you did know, and I think the reality is we probably have had the conversation, but because we didn't check in on Sunday about how the week was going to look, it's been benched. Like it's been put somewhere in my brain. And there'll be a part in Sarah's brain that goes, oh no, we did mention it. So Ross knows. And then throughout the conversation we had earlier, she was like, yeah, and obviously you'll have to sort out what we're doing after swim because I'm staying over. So it's gone from like a day to she's not going to be back till Saturday now. Now this is stuff we can all get around, but those things stack up, and we don't intentionally do it. But if we're not paying attention to the small stuff, they quickly stack up, and all of a sudden they've run away with them. But yeah, I can definitely relate to all, and I'm sure people who are watching this back take some time just to have a little write down where this is showing up for you because we don't intentionally do it, but it will be there. And yeah, it doesn't make you a bad person. It just means it's real. You know, you're just a human who's very, very busy right now. But yeah, I appreciate you too sharing that stuff there. So a bit of the why it happens then. Okay, so all of the people that are excuse me, it's a bit warm in here now. All the people that are in here, all the people that I'm going to share this with, you guys are like you're high performing individuals. You know, Alex, I mean, I could sit here and spend the next 20 minutes sharing about all the stuff that you've done. Sam, you're the exact same. Okay. So we're all output focused. We've all got lots of responsibility going on, and we are pretty good at solving problems. Now, that can take many different shapes and forms, but we're really, really good at those things. Okay. But what happens is when there's no structure or when we don't have structure for other things, we struggle with time ownership. we struggle with our energy management, and then we struggle to lead at home. And by lead at home, I just mean actually taking the responsibility as a husband and as a dad, not expecting the relationship with my kids to look after itself if I don't water the flowers. And by that, I mean look after the relationship with my kids. Same with our partners and our wives. I'm not going to sit here and expect my relationship with my wife to be great if I'm not paying attention to it, because everyone's busy in this, but that's not a reason to, or a good excuse to just let things start to slide. And then time ownership is massive. And I kind of like the different turn on the phrase time ownership rather than management, because management kind of says that you're being forced into decision making, where ownership is you're being sort of directional with your stuff and intentional. I'm taking ownership of my time, and this is where it's going to go. Because Alex, I know you've been like this, and you're pretty good with it in your workspace, and you just talked about it. Your day tomorrow is mapped out. So if we can map the stuff out for our family and for ourselves, and allocate the same kind of time ownership we have in work in the other areas in our life, we're more than likely going to be in a better place and a more successful place with our partners and our kids and with ourselves. It's just kind of a natural development that's going to happen. But the business gets the best of you, and then, and I know Alex, you'll have this, and I know you even had a point. I'm sure was your gym at the end of the garden or in the garage?
Yeah, I've got a gym, kind of a gym setup. I mean, I hybrid it now, so I do actually go to a gym because I was missing the social aspect. But I accumulated a load of gym gear over COVID lockdown, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's at the
and
top of the garden.
yeah, that's it. And I think what can happen is when there's no clear end to our day and how we roll into family time, that kind of buffer, it can be pretty hard and brutal to go from work deadlines, work stress, work life straight into wife, kids, house, exercise. It can be a lot. And actually, sometimes we need to manage the end of our day. And even if it's just a walk to the end of your garden, Alex, do some pull ups, do a bit of skipping, and then come back. Or it's a dog walk, or it's a run, or it's a stop at the gym on the way home, or something that just puts a little bit of space between our partners and our kids when we get home, because we don't want them to get the tired dad, the struggling with the day dad, the stressed dad, the uh, pissed off with, I don't know, business stuff that we've got going on. Our kids don't care about that. They learn to care about it as they get older, but they don't really care about that. Our wives put up with it. Sometimes they don't want to hear about it. They just want you to come home and get on with the stuff you've got going on in the house. And actually, that is what's needed. You may then need to share and offload at another point of the day or later in the week with our partners about what's going on at work. But we have responsibilities when we come through the front door. Yeah. But our brains can sometimes be wired up and we're still in work mode and we're like, well, why is this not done? Why are you still doing that? I'm terrible for that with my kids. I'll be working with clients, come back in, and then they'll be like, right, I'm into interrogation mode. What have you done? Where are you going to be? What's going on? And my kids are like, just chill out, Dad. You've just got in the door. And I'm like, and then it's even worse. That's a red rag to a bull. What do you mean? Tell me to chill out? And it's like, no, just bring it right back down. And I do that to myself. And I wonder for you guys, does that kind of show up for you lot as well? What's the one that catches you guys out?
I think for me, it's definitely well, the point you made about kind of reserving your problems and then discussing them at a later point. I think that is something that I've gotten a bit too good at, almost to my own detriment. And then again, we go back to what we were discussing earlier, is that the kids will normally notice at first, and then
Yeah.
they'll turn to the wife and go, "What's wrong with dad?" And there's nothing
That's
worse,
the
is
one,
there?
isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
is the one. What about you, Sam?
I guess it's probably for me is like when I get in either late or everybody else has gone to sleep, or um, it could be you come in late the night before, busy day, and then you've already arranged to go out again, and you've basically got like an hour, and you're trying to squeeze it in, and people are like, "Well, I'm busy now. You'll have to come back later." And then you realise you've probably got something booked for the day after as well if you're not careful. So yeah,
Yeah.
you kind of feel like you've just because you're available, everybody else has moved on because you've not been there.
And again, and I think, yeah, both you are spot on with what you're saying. And I think, Alex, you're right. Your kids pick up on it. And shelving it to have a conversation later can also be really, really valuable. But it also sometimes just gives you a bit of space to go, actually, I was just in a bad mood earlier. I don't actually need to follow up on that conversation. That thing that pissed me off when I came through the front door, it's not something to be pissed off about. So actually, I'm glad we didn't talk about it earlier because I was in a bad mood. I actually don't need to follow up on it now. And communication is so important when we do that. We need to, it's great. I'll say, well, obviously you knew that's what was going on, but those words will have never left my mouth. Like, Sarah, I need to speak to you about this, or this has come up at work, because I don't want to recognize that I'm potentially either in the wrong or my communication with my kids, my wife has not been perfect. I don't want to highlight that for myself. So sometimes my wife will check me, and like you said, Alex, the kids will do it as well. Um, and
And
yes,
and I,
Sam,
and I
be
think,
go on,
sorry,
Alex.
going back to that, what you said earlier about the the when you when you shelve something and it gives you the time to process it, and then you think, do I really need to bring that into the spotlight, or like you say, was I just in a bad mood? And I'll remind, because I know we've discussed this before, Ross, but obviously I'll remind you, and this is for everybody else on the call as well. But when my youngest daughter was a lot smaller, she came out with the best phrase, like the best piece of like basic childhood wisdom. And she'd come out of school and she was quite clearly in a bad mood. And I asked her about it and I kind of pressed her about it. And the phrase that stuck with me that she came out with, which was just perfect, she went, "I'm not ready to talk about it yet." And I was just like,
And
perfect.
look, can you imagine like having that is and that's pearls of wisdom. And as an adult, we almost feel like I feel a little bit jarred that I'd have to say I'm not ready to talk about it yet. But as an adult, we should be saying exactly that. And what quite often happens with my wife is my wife already knows this. Like she'll know when to entertain and when to not entertain. That's the I was about to say annoying, but it's beautifully annoying because they know us so well. You can walk in the room, they can just smell it. They know something's up and they know whether to push it or whether to not. And Sarah's great. And if it's important or she thinks something, or she will bring it back up. But quite often she'll just leave it. And very rarely, and I'm sure sometimes there has been, but very rarely does she miss anything that's actually important. And then if there is something that has been missed and she's not brought up, I then get to go, this is how I was feeling. And as long as we're in a cool place, as in we're not busy, we're not moving from one thing to the next, maybe on a walk or maybe sitting down and relaxing, you have to pick your moments. When my wife is loading the car up with 1,000 bags to take the kids to school, me then dropping some absolute crap on her lap is not the one. Picking our times to do this is very, very important. And but it is important that we get it out because otherwise, then we feel pissed off that nobody wants to listen. And yeah, it's really, really, guys, I really appreciate you sharing that stuff. And I'm sure for the people that are watching back, these things show up. Okay, we don't intentionally do it. It's just the way it goes. So what I want to get to now is find out what the reality is. So where are we right now? Not where we think we are, not where we want to be, but where we actually are. So I've got a little bit of this is where the audit kind of side comes into it now. So we're going to talk about time, energy, presence, partnership, and standards. And then we're going to do a bit of an audit and look, take screenshots, make notes, do what you need to do. I'm recording this anyway, and I'll send it out to everybody. But we're going to go through these, and we're just going to kind of give ourselves a bit of a score on where we are. And then all of a sudden we can start to work on the gaps and the areas that we'd like to improve on. So for us then, time, yeah? Are we in control of our time or are we reacting to everything? So Alex, you said it earlier, we are in reactive mode. And look, in work, and especially depending on the type of work that we do, we might have to be in reactive mode. Alex, if clients are sending you stuff that needs changing and they've got a time frame, yeah, you are in reactive mode to a certain degree. Just because we get away with it at work doesn't mean that our family has to be working the same way. So we need to make sure that we are in control of our time. And I always remember I've got a great friend of mine who's probably one of the most creative individuals I've ever known. He makes music. He's like a music producer. He does all the Sky Sports music, all the cool stuff. He's just ahead of his time with his stuff. And I remember posting something on social media like no days off. And he bounced back saying, no, 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 I love having days off. And I was like, I love having days off, but I need to book those days off. Like, so the world doesn't stop spinning. So I need to then make sure I'm time blocking my downtime, my gym time, my family time, my work time, my kids' time. I need to plan that into my day, my week, my month, because if I don't, it will just get sucked in to the ether that is the world. Yeah, that's just the way it is. And how it shows up and the signs of the drift that we can have in this when we're thinking about time is that constant busyness with no clear end. You know, that get to the end of the day, get to the end of the week, and you're like, shit, what did I achieve? And look, Alex, when you used to jump in on the calls before, the first thing we do is write down what have we got done. And sometimes just sitting there and going through what we've actually got done is that bit of a reality to go, oh shit, I did actually get a lot done. Or actually, I've been busy, but really not getting a lot achieved. And when we've got that feeling, that means we're not in great or as good control of our time as we could be. There's no protected time in the family. You know, if in your diary, sorry, there's no protected time for your family in the diary. If you don't know when your kids' activities are, if you don't know when you've got spaces in your diary that when people ask you, are you free this time? And you instantly respond with, yeah, I'm free. But you know that Saturday morning is the only morning of the week that you can sit in and have croissants and coffee with your family, then that is sacred time. And that's what we do in our house. It's just got a little bit better now because my daughter's just stopped doing gymnastics, but there was a time about 10:30 that they'd come back from the gym and gymnastics, and Bear and I would have croissants ready to go. That's like a protected time. And if for whatever reasons that gets taken away on a Saturday, it then gets moved to the Sunday. But we make sure that time moves around because if we don't, all of a sudden a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, and we don't do it intentionally. But all of a sudden, we've taken away a lovely little routine that we have as a family. If we catch ourselves saying, in a minute, I'll do this then. Yeah, just give me 1 sec. I'll be there. I'll come through. My best one for my daughter is she'll shout down and she'll know that I'm on my phone. And Dad, yeah, I'm just coming. Get off your phone. And I'm there like, there's a part of me that's like, how do you know? And now I feel bad, but then I also don't want to be like told what to do by a 10-year-old. So then like lean into it. No, no, I'm not going to go up right now. I'm going to hold on for another minute or so. That's not how you do it. You know, if you're catching yourself doing this, we're not in control of our time. And then, look, Alex, I'm sure you've had this, and Sam, you'll have had this at time as well. When your work bleeds into your evenings, you know, the great thing about being self-employed or running different hours is we get to control when we put in certain important aspects of our day into our daily routine. And by that I mean, Alex, for example, with yourself, buddy, you know, there will be times where you can take a longer lunch or grab some time in the morning to go to the gym because you know you're going to work slightly later into the evening. Or Sam, if you've got shifts that are coming through, or you've just come back from doing stuff with the with your other work, then you plan around when you're going to get to the gym or when things are going to be taken care of. But when that work bleeds into the evening, and we sort of there is no shut off from work to home life, and again, and I've talked about this in the past, there is no thing as like work-life balance. We just we just we have life and we work at the same time. We need to put in those things to help us around that. But yeah, that's definitely one thing that shows up for time. Energy is a big one. So are you bringing energy home, or are you arriving drained? You know, there'll be a few nod of the heads that sometimes you just come home from work and you are pooped, and that is it. You're flat, low energy. Your evenings don't look good. Mentally checked out by 6. Kind of get to 6 p.m. and you're like, I am cooked here. And then what happens is there's nothing left for your partner at the end of the day. No, we are going to have days like that. We are going to have days where you've just had a cooked day. It's been an early start, or something's just built up over a couple of days. Acknowledging it for yourself is great. Sharing that with your partner, even better. But if this is something that's consistently showing up, we're not in control of our energy, and that's something that we need to have a look at. Okay, the presence one then. Are you actually there or just physically in the room? And that's whether you're on your phone. I've made a point of my phone gets charged up downstairs at the back in the office space. In the evenings now, I try to leave my phone in the kitchen because it's just too easy. It's too easy for this thing to be in our hands. And I'm there banging the drum about my kids not having phones, and they don't. Yet they're so quick to turn around and go, but you two are just as bad. And I'm like, hands up. I absolutely am. So catching yourself with your phone around, distracted listening in conversations. Am I paying attention? Am I thinking about the email that's just come through on my phone? Am I thinking about the next thing I've got to do? Am I giving the person I'm in the room with all of my attention? And then that whole half engaged with your kids, mind still on work when you're at home. It's the classic in the office thinking about the beach, at the beach thinking about the office. These things show up. We don't do it intentionally, but they show up. And that's where that drift starts to creep in when we're not being as present with our families at home. Okay, partnership then. Are you leading that relationship? And by that, I mean leading your half of the relationship. It is a partnership. Together, we're going to try to be 100%. We're never going to be 50-50 all the time. There's going to be days when you're at 80 and your wife's at a 20. There's going to be days when you're at a 20 and your wife's at 80 and you're like, look, I need you to step up. Quite often, my wife will be like, I can't deal with the kids. Can you go and do it? No worries. I can do that. There'll be other times where I need her to step in, okay? But if you catch yourself just at surface level conversations, how was your day? Good. Not really interested in how the answer goes. Don't really want to dig into deeper into it. If you find yourself there, we're just in a place of coexistence. And that's not to say that this all of a sudden you're in the worst place in the world. It's just slowly creeps in. Reduced connection and intimacy. We all know when we're not as close to our partners as we'd like to be. Okay. Sometimes it's just the way it is. Sometimes we've just been a bit disjointed, showed up a little bit differently. And all of a sudden, again, unintentionally, these things start to show up. Tension that never gets addressed. You said you were going to do this, but you didn't. The biggest thing I find with the guys that I'm working with is, and when I speak to their partners as well, is that tension at home. You said you were going to do something, but you didn't do it. All of a sudden, that bubbling is just there, tension between you and your partner. And then she feels like she's co-managing you, as in, this is not a partnership. This is I'm just here to tell you what to do. And sometimes it's nice to be told what to do and reminded what we need to be told what to do. But actually, that just becomes another thing that we place on our wives' partners' list to do. And they've already got a fucking list that's as long as anything. It's not their responsibility to tell you what to do. I catch myself asking my wife, and then I'll be like, no, I can go away and find that. I can check the email about the school stuff. I can check the text messages about where the game is at the weekend. I default and cut to, well, I can just ask you. That is just another thing that they're needed to do. And that's not part of it. You are in a relationship. It is a partnership. You are not one of the kids. And then standards then, okay? So what standards are we holding for ourselves at home? If we're in a place of this will do, I'm okay, that's the mindset that starts to creep in. That's just not acceptable. We've all, Sam, you've been at top end of sport and performance. Alex, the exact same. There'll be lots of people on this call who I'm sending the videos to. You've all been at the top end in some shape or form, work or in some sort of performance. We never would just take that will do attitude. We'd never let things slide. All of a sudden, we're letting things slide that we used to care about. Or we just need a timeout. Right, what's important to me? Where am I? If we've got no clear expectations, okay, or no intentional action or leadership at home, that's where it starts to slip as well. And then we find ourselves having high standards at work, but then it's different. Why do we not have the same high standards with our wives and with our kids? There's a lot of talking from me there. What I want you guys to do now is just give yourself a little bit of a score, and then we'll just go through some of the things that sort of came up for you and maybe just hit home for you guys. So just take a couple of minutes, give yourself a little score. Be honest. Imagine nobody else sees this, and then I'd like you to share if you want to, but you don't have to. But yeah, we'll go based on your standards, not your feelings, because sometimes our feelings will go, I'd like to give myself a better score. We're looking to be as honest as we can here. And guys, again, those watching it back on the record, just hit the pause, give yourself a score: time, energy, presence, partnership, and standards. Right, when you're ready, if you want to, you can share. Anybody want to share some scores or share some things that kind of like resonate with them a bit more than others?
Yeah, I'm happy to share, Ross.
Yeah, go on, Sam.
Right, so time-wise, I'd say really on top of organising, planning. So as long as it's been told, it's usually in the diary, nearly almost in the diary. Usually there's a plan. So time-wise, really good. But I'll go on to the next bit. Energy, yeah, pretty high all the time. To be honest, I keep driving on. Don't usually kind of completely run out of energy. However, so I'll probably give myself an 8 for time and 8 for energy. However,
Yeah.
presence, yeah, definitely down less than half, probably 4 out of 10, I'd say.
Okay.
Because the presence can be, so yeah, I'm present to take somebody from A to B and wait for them or drop them off and come pick them up. And I'm present to do like, right, yeah, I'll cook that meal and I'll do that. But then other times I think, because everything's so highly geared and everything's highly timed, it doesn't give much flex. If somebody needs a bit of extra or something doesn't go to plan, then I'm not there to recover it. Or I can't meet somebody's, if they've got something extra they need from me that day, it's kind of like, well, sorry, I've already planned to take somebody to whatever. And it's too late when I come back, or you know what I mean, the moment's gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, partnership, I guess to some extent you could say between me and my wife are really good because the kids do get to where they need to go, they get supported at school, they always have clean iron stuff, you know what I mean, all that's covered.
That's important stuff.
It is, but actually for me and her partnership wise, I think sometimes we like a highly tuned gearbox. We kind of purr through the gears, but we can be like opposite ends of the flywheel, if you know what I mean, opposite ends of the shaft. You know, we can be doing really good stuff for other people, but not necessarily always like together. Standard wise, yeah, some things really good. And other things is just get left, you know, just like painting jobs in the house can be left. Or we bought a new TV and instead of fitting it to the wall where it used to be, it's on a stand, and it's been like that for probably a month now because it actually just needs a new fitment, a new drill to the wall, new placement of things around the outside, and you know, it's just a job, and it's literally been, it's probably been a month since it's been looked at because I keep thinking about I need a good couple of hours to do that, or I need probably more than 2 hours time I'll get everything I need, and I need to block that time out. And there's always a case of, well, this needs to be done instead, or do that, or you know what I mean.
That's the thing, isn't it? And it's that fine line between the time and energy and potential money that we could waste in not getting it done versus I'm just going to pay someone to do it. I know that I'll just pay a handyman to come down and hang it. It'll cost me 50 quid or 100 quid or whatever. Or it could sit and piss me off for the next 6 months. and I'll be really annoyed at it and wish I just paid the 70 quid to the guy to hang it. Um, yeah, there's lots of little areas in our lives where it's like that. If I was to pin you for some numbers for partnership and standards, what would you give yourself, Sam?
Partnership 6,
Yeah,
standards 5.
good, excellent. Cheers, Sam. I really appreciate that. What about you, Alex?
You know me, I'm always happy to share. So time, I gave myself an 8 for time because I am anyone who knows me, my parents, my wife will always say I fly by the seat of my pants, which means
Yeah,
if I say I'm going to be there at, whatever, 12 noon, I will be there at 12 noon, no earlier, no later kind of thing.
yeah,
So I'm kind of, and getting 3 kids ready for school in the morning, we have that down to like military precision. So in terms of that time management, I'm like I say, I gave myself an 8 for that. Energy, I went with a 6, because as we discussed it a bit earlier on this call, I have been guilty of having a short fuse with the kids. It is sometimes that I've poured everything into my work day, and then the family will just get whatever's left of me, kind of thing.
yeah,
So that's something that I definitely need to work on. Presents, I gave myself an 8 with presents because it was the thing that resonated the most was the work bleeding into the evenings bit. So I had when my son was young, I had an epiphany moment where I'd been on a job, I was working away, I was in London, and I didn't finish until 5:30. Rang the wife to say I was on my way home, and she said, "Well, you're going to miss your son's bath and bedtime." And that moment, I was just like, "What am I doing? If I'm working to provide for my family, but I'm not even there, what is the point?"
yeah,
And then, but obviously before the lockdown days when everybody started working from home, I've worked from home since getting on for like 20 years now. And everybody used to say to me before they'd experienced it themselves, it must take a lot of discipline to not turn on the TV or anything like that. And I was like, no, I'm in graphic design. I don't have an office to leave. The discipline comes from knowing when to stop because the
yeah,
laptop is always there and you can always
always.
be, I'll just nip and do this or I'll just nip and do that. And, I've been guilty of working until almost midnight some evenings. And so I have in the last few years put some really strict guidelines in with
Good.
myself, like stop. And the
Yeah, that's really
evenings
good.
are the family time. And funnily enough, our ritual is with my youngest daughter. Yours is croissants, and was it croissants you said?
Yeah, coffee, yeah.
Yeah,
And
ours
they have
is
a little
mine is coffee, and she'll have a hot chocolate, and we'll eat Oreo biscuits and watch the TV on a Saturday morning, and
yeah,
that's like the
that's it.
ritual.
Golden time. Yeah,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
I went with an 8 for presents
No, that's
because of
good.
all of the above. Partnership, I went with a 5 because I feel that I am very 50-50 these days, where sometimes I will put a lot of dedication into my relationship with my wife, and sometimes we are just guilty of just coexisting.
Yeah.
And I had a stint of there. I've got like a core, everyone's got core mates, but I've got like this group of core mates, and we will once a month or once every couple of months we'll organize some beers out. And then the wife said to me about 3 months ago, "Where's my organized night out with you?" And I was like, "Wow, wow, okay, yeah, fair
Yeah, yeah.
point,
Hey, and
fair
we'll
point."
do this as well. We will
Yeah,
plan and we'll say to ourselves, but we only do it once a year or every 6 months. And it's like, yeah, cool. When's the last time you organized the kids to be babysat by your mother-in-law or your sister-in-law? I'm talking about myself now. To
yeah,
look after the kids so we could go out. Yeah, I'm there going, yeah, a mate's called me tonight. Yeah, we're still on for our date that we've got the weekend off in June or July. I'm like, shit, when's the last time I planned something for Sarah? And
yeah,
again,
yeah,
we
yeah.
don't do this on purpose. We really don't. But this is just where it happens naturally. It just when these little things chip away, yeah, it can really happen quickly.
And then standards, I went with an 8. So we discussed before the recording started. So I've got a kind of an inside track cheat on this because we're extending our house at the moment, and I work from home. So my office is my house. So the standards have to be pretty high because
Yeah,
I've got
yeah,
to
yeah,
work
get
here.
it.
So yeah, there's a bit of a cheat code on that one.
No, absolutely,
So yeah,
yeah.
I
I'm
went with
not
an 8 on
encouraging
that.
everyone to go through the house remodeling that Alex has gone through, but there is
I
definitely
wouldn't recommend
something
it
to be
either.
said about it. Excellent, guys. I really appreciate you sharing that stuff. Right, we're kind of getting to the hot end of the session now. So look, this stuff here, and again, the stuff that we scored the lowest on, you know. Um, what do we score lowest, and what's keeping it there? Now, it's we just talked about it there. You mentioned it. You talked about the presence. You talked about the partnership. You talked about the energy, the standards. We know what's going on. We know these things, and quite often these things will come up, and only when we pause and reflect, like Alex, when we used to do the group stuff, it's only when you reflect and you go, "Shit, I did do that," or "This is what's going on." We're not out to get anybody here, okay? Um, you can't really get it wrong, you know. We just have to name it, and then be aware of it. And we talked about this before. You have that success triangle, you know, that self-awareness that something is going wrong, something's amiss, something's drifting. Okay, right, what do I need to do? Who do I need to speak to? What knowledge do I need to gather? I either know somebody who's got what I want or doing what I want to be doing, whether it's relationship wise with their wife and kids, business wise, health and fitness, the whole package. There'll be somebody, you know, a coach, you know, myself, who knows what needs to be done, and then it's taking the action, you know. But without the awareness and without the knowledge, there's no point taking the action because we don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, you guys talked really, really nicely about that stuff, and hopefully there's some stuff in there that you can just start to think about working on as you go away from this. And if anything, these just provide really, really good conversations to have with our partners and kids. You know, this is the thing. The sooner we can get to the answer yes or no with the important people to us, we can then learn and move on. Okay, so most men don't need more information. They need that structure and that ownership. Okay, where is my time being allocated? Where's the time look like for my wife and kids? Where's the time for myself? How do I start my day? How do I end the day? I'm taking full responsibility and ownership for all of this. Okay. So when the shit hits the fan, I'm to blame. But also when you have an amazing relationship or your kids are complimented on their behavior or their manners or something that is a reflection on you, you get to take complete ownership of it. We forget that. We only want to begrudgingly own the shit that goes wrong, and then we can play into the story about why we're not good enough. Yeah, there's another reason that I'm not good enough. Look, someone's just shown me how shit I am. When it goes well, we get to own that as well. It's really important that we learn to do that. So the cost of doing nothing, this becomes normal, okay? Drift stops feeling like drift, it just becomes life. Distance increases, the gap between you and the family grows slowly, and then suddenly you realize where you're at. Regret builds. The years you can't get back, the moments we've missed, okay? Success at work will not fix the disconnection at home. I've just been speaking to a guy last week who's like, I'm killing it at work, okay? Just had a divorce, wife's moved away with his kids, not in a good place, okay? Just because you're doing well at work doesn't mean you're going to be doing well at home. If nothing changes, what does that actually cost you? Okay. So if nothing changes in the energy and partnership for you, Alex, in the presence and standards for you, Sam, if nothing changes, what does that actually cost you? Okay. Not in theory, but at home, in the house with your kids and with your partner. And that's the takeaway. That's the stuff I want you to get to think about. So if you had to put some quick words to that, if you didn't change anything, where do you, what could happen for you guys just like in the next 3 or 4 months? What could show up for you?
Think for me it'd be so the ones that I went with the energy and the the short fuse with the
Yeah,
kids, they're going to stop wanting to share their problems with me.
yeah,
And they're not going to want to come to me to hash things out and that kind of thing if they feel like all they're going to get is snapped at, frankly.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I can't remember the exact fact, but it's something like by the age of 12, you've already spent 75% of the time that you're ever going to spend with your kids. It's something insane. And it is, you're exactly right, Alex. They're just going to stop wanting to share. You know, like I say to my kids, I want you to always to be able to come to me. That's like my values. But are my actions in line with that? If they're not, they're just going to stop doing it. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, I'd say that it it would be
if they see the way I parent them as the norm, or that they see it as the way that dads behave, then they're going to pass it on to their kids.
Yeah,
And you kind of go, like you just said, and it is true because I've got two older and two younger kids that before you know it, you just don't see them, or you rarely see them, or that they move on and they get an important friend like boyfriend, girlfriend, friend of a car, and they spend all the time with them. And I think you're probably right. I think 12 is that golden age, up to probably 15, and then from 15, your behaviours are probably set in their mind to some extent, and your examples have been normalised, and they're very much looking away from the family rather than back to the family. And
yeah,
in many ways, that's a good thing, but it's also
yeah.
a thing you've got to realise you can't influence them nearly as much when they are 17, 18 as they can when they're 11 and 12, you know?
And it's not to say that that means you just give up on it. It just means you just get to be intentional of what we're doing. You know, that's the whole point around this. Guys, I really appreciate it. There's a couple more slides, guys. If we're okay for a couple of minutes, I'm just gonna see these slides to the end, and then yeah, we'll wrap it up. I really appreciate you sharing that because that's yeah, that's some interesting stuff there. So, um, look, this is the stuff that I'm doing with the coaches, with my clients. This is the stuff that I've got going on in the school group. You don't need more time. You just need a better system. Okay, you need more structure in and around what we're already doing, and it's not to add more to the to-do list. It's just to prioritize stuff and actually make it easier to say yes and no to stuff. So this is kind of the approach that I take now with the clients that I'm working with. The four C's: command your time, control your energy, connect with purpose, and continue the mission. And that continue the mission is just to keep consistently turning up with stuff. The commanding of your time is time blocking. And again, a lot of the stuff I end up doing with clients is accountability calls. We'll sit and map out problems that come up during the week. We'll then address them head on. We'll look at how we start and end the days. You know, how are we controlling our energy levels? You know, how does our day start? How does it end? How do I prioritize myself over the other people who are important to then allow them to get the best version of me? How do I improve my connection at home and with my kids? And then, like I said, continuing on with it. That 4C framework is the real crux of the coaching that I'm doing now. And again, I'll leave you kind of with these questions. I'm going to send this off for you guys to have a look at as well. But the command, the control, and connect. These are the things, okay, that I work on. But just thinking about them now, if you were to pick one, what kind of strikes you as the one? That's the one I want to give my sort of time and energy towards. Alex, you go. Just off the top of your head, which one jumps out at you?
Number two.
Yeah, control your energy. What about you, Sam?
Connect.
Which one did you say?
Connect.
Connect.
Connect
Yeah,
with.
brilliant. And again, quite often the one that comes up, that gut response is usually the one that needs the most attention. So look, very, very quickly then, command your time. This is the stuff I get into with the clients. Build clear weekly structures, not a wish list. Block protective family time, like you block a client meeting, okay? Know what your top three priorities before you start. Every Sunday night, I have the clients check in. Every sort of Wednesday, Thursday, I have a recheck in. They share their good stuff on a Friday, and then we continue with the mission on a Sunday. Okay? Stop reacting, start leading your calendar. Okay? Stop having it just appear and I'll just assume something will get done. Control your energy, own your mornings, protect that first hour of your day. Set clear transition rituals between work mode and home mode. Is it a gym? Is it a dog walk? Is it a time on the bag? Is it, I don't know, something that just puts that gap between you finishing work and then being present with your wife and kids? What drains you? Is it a person? Is it an activity? Is it an action that you don't like doing? Start to take out of your life. Remove or reduce it intentionally. We're in control of all that stuff. Connect. No autopilot evenings. Be intentional with your time at home. One thing with your kids each day, undivided, be present. And that doesn't have to be a big thing. It might just be you sitting on the bed at the end of the day and just asking, how are they? What are they proud of? You know, date your partner. Okay. Plan it, don't hope for it. Okay. Alex, you and I have got to go now and plan dates with our wives because we've already booked drinks with our friends. Okay. Connect is a practice, not a feeling. All right. We've got to be intentional with this stuff. Otherwise, it just drifts. We don't do it intentionally. Okay. And then the last one, that continue the mission. We go again. Weekly reviews, check ins, 15 minutes every week. It's a non negotiable. Sundays, we plan it, we go, we execute. I definitely need to be better on recapping the week. We do a bit of it at the end of the day, but I definitely need to be better at doing the reviews. Find out what's working, what's drifted, what needs adjusting. Speak to the people who are important to us. Speak to our wives, speak to our kids, speak to our business partners, speak to our friends, people who understand who we are. Ask them what they think's working. What do you think's drifted? What needs adjusting? And then we're looking to stay consistent. I heard it's a bit of a basketball analogy, so it might not work for you guys if you're not au fait with the basketball world. But the NBA play in 7 game series, and you've got to win 4 games to win the series. And I literally heard this morning, life or a week of your life is like a 7 game basketball series. You've only got to win 4 of those days to have a good one. And I was just like, that is amazing. Just because I've had one bad day doesn't mean I have a bad week. If I can just grab 4 wins for that week, I'm winning at life for that week. And I just heard that this morning. I thought that was brilliant. Yeah, stay consistent. It compounds in both directions. If we're consistently poor, it gets worse. If we're consistently good, lo and behold, it gets better. Leadership at home is a long game, all right? We're in this for the long haul. We can get distracted with short-term wins. We're in it for the long game, so we have to play it deliberately. Right, okay, you're not stuck. You're just a little bit unstructured, a little bit unintentional, and a little bit overextended. It's all fixable. And it starts with a decision, not a perfect plan. And look, guys, look, this is the stuff for you. So I want you to go away, those who are watching at home as well, have a think. What's hit home? What were the gaps that you've noticed? If you know your family deserves more presence, if that came up for you, if it came up for you that you know you're capable of more at home, if you're done tolerating the drift, let me know, okay? This is where you take that first step. I've got coaching groups that I do, I've got individual coaching, and I've got the Stronger Father, Stronger Families group in school. So I'm going to leave this with you guys. Alex and Sam, what's your biggest takeaway for tonight, buddy?
You've given me lots to consider. To be honest, I think to be honest, it is the recap, the weekly like reflection, and yeah, building that protective family time. I'd say to some extent our meal times are protective family time. But yeah, it would be good to kind of nail something a bit more personal rather than just have everybody in the room at the same time. So yeah, that's my takeaway.
Excellent. I love that. What about you, Alex?
I think the one thing per family member each week.
Yeah,
I'm good at being present when it's things that have been negotiated by other people, like their school and you know their extracurricular clubs, that kind of events. But things that I can take charge of and organize with each of them, just for a little bit of time each week.
brilliant. Look, you end up doing one of 2 things. You end up continue doing what we're doing and same drift, same distance, same regret, or we do something about it. Okay, guys, I really appreciate you guys jumping on. I really appreciate you sharing this stuff. Those who are watching back, let me know what hit home for you, what you need help with. You know where I am. You've got my emails, you've got my phone numbers. Drop me a message. Sam and Alex, I really appreciate you jumping on tonight. Thank you very much for sharing all that stuff, that good stuff. I wish you a really, really good week. We're on Thursday. We've still got a couple more days to get through. And I will speak to you all soon, okay?
Thanks, Ross.
Look after yourself, Alex. Look after yourself, Sam.
Thanks, Ross. Been really good, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, take it easy, buddy.
Bye, mate. Bye.
See you later, guys. Just finished my live call. I forget how tiring live calls are. Fatherhood Leadership Audit. Call it what you want. Basically, we looked at being a dad, being a husband, being busy in work, not looking after ourselves, not paying attention to the important stuff. I've got a recording of the entire thing, which was fantastic. So if you're interested in the recording, just hit a yes in the next slide, and I'll buzz you the copy of the recording when it comes through. Yeah, really excited about this one. Great conversation with the guys that were on. Hopefully some stuff to move on for them to go away and do now. Really enjoyed being back doing these live calls and working with people face to face in groups. It's amazing. I hope everyone's having an amazing Thursday. Speak to you all soon. Just finished my live call. How tiring live calls are. Fatherhood Leadership Audit. Call it what you want. Basically, we looked at being a dad, being a husband, being busy in work, not looking after ourselves, not paying attention to the important stuff. I've got a recording of the entire thing, which was fantastic. So if you're interested in the recording, just hit a yes in the next slide,